Hey, Marco, here we are, Friday night. We've had a better day than most of Major League Baseball, but hey, I did the calculations and we are now 11.9% of the way through the Major League Baseball tournament. And that number may sound odd because yesterday we were 13% of the way through, and now we're 11.9% of the way through. And so I don't know exactly how that calculates. I just know it's accurate. We have taken.
Well, we almost made it to the 1-2. I mean, Big 12, a nice, easy number to divide. But just to recap, we said 11% yesterday.
13% yesterday.
We said 11%.
No, it was almost 13%.
Yesterday was 13?
No, today's 11. Yesterday was 13. We've taken a step back, two steps forward.
No. Yesterday was 11 because I remember you saying 11, but I don't know if that's the right math. And I said, well, 6 games would be 10%, right? Oh, no, maybe I'm thinking of the day
before. We're doing this every day, and yesterday was almost 14%. Today's only 11. We've taken 2 steps backwards, 1 step forward.
Yeah, and you want me to do the recaps at the beginning of the shows? I'm not going to be doing any recaps if I can't even figure out which show was 11% and which show was 13%. But we're at 12 right now.
Yes.
We talked about some Dazzy Vance leaders. For those that don't know what the Dazzy Vance is, that's the tournament's version of the Cy Young. And Bieber is just way up there. We made some promises. I will never say lights out. I will never, ever put a win in the bag for Driggs until the final out of the 9th, with the caveat, unless it's a doubleheader, final out of the 7th. And a few other things. We had some awards that we discussed, and if you guys are just getting on the show, go see some of the earlier shows.
Yeah,
that's essentially my recap, and I'm not happy with it at all.
Boy, why are we doing a recap?
All right, I guess let's open up the promises segment right now.
Yes.
I promise never to do a recap of the show. It's easy enough to subscribe.
Yes.
4 Sticks, the regular spelling, not the spelling of the river, STICKS. And I promise, along with our other promises that you'll see if you look at the earlier shows, that I will never do a recap because we want to try to keep these tight. So I think. So you want to lead us into some of the things that we discussed at the meeting?
No, not yet.
Okay.
I want to reference the email, the Picks4Sticks at gmail.com email. We got a few emails today, so those of you who joined our mailing list, thank you, and you got a couple picks. Hopefully you like the analysis, and the analysis led you in a good place because the results didn't line up to how good the plays were, but this is what gambling's all about. So tough break on the Reds that we thought the bats would be hot. At least they didn't get no hit, so they were in a position. It was worst case scenario all the way through, and they didn't get their runs, but that's a loss. But the 2 leans split, so 1-1 on those. But even on the White Sox win, they were. Look, talk about an old lady play. This is Keuchel against a single-A pitcher who they brought up. And the White Sox, which is supposed to be a very powerful offensive team, only musters 3 runs in the first against the single-A pitcher. That's an unimpressive win. So we'll take it. We'll cash that ticket. But interesting day with some games still hanging in the balance on personal plays. We'll see how those play out, but it's not going to be a great night overall unless your O's hang in there, but they're due for a collapse. You see how that's
We saw what happened yesterday on that brilliant play that you made, one of our better losses. And we like to keep track of our good losses just as much as we like to keep track of how many tickets we're cashing.
Exactly. We sure.
And that was one of our better losses because they were up in the 9th, and they got some guy that wasn't even on the team, picked off the scrap heap, this Sulzer, that comes in to try to be a fancy closer because our 2 main closers are not able to be there. And Hunter Harvey and I don't know where Gibbons was. Maybe he had too many innings already. I don't know. How do you have too many innings in a tournament of 60 games?
Right.
But you wanted to talk a little bit about some of these these PFCs, postpones for COVID.
I do. So this morning we got the word.
Can I stop you real quick? I wanted to. I know that you had to leave the meeting earlier to sign some autographs and do your thing for you're the star, you're the big guy, lights on, Michael. But we have a new segment that we're going to call the Picks4Sticks Polemics.
Yes.
This will be our version of rants. So this is Michael Driggs' polemics.
Oh, I'm gonna talk about that now. I'll just get to it. And here's the bottom line. And if you'll allow me the time and space to just work through this, I'll get to my point.
You got 4 minutes.
I'm on the clock.
Four is a nice square number. Don't shoot it up. I'm getting it in my ear from Henry, the showrunner. Tighten it up. I mean, come on.
So you might have seen in the news this. I don't know. She's an ordinary writer. She isn't anything exceptional. Helene Elliott, she's been writing for years upon years and just pumping out the most unoriginal, ordinary content. She waits to see where the trend lines are heading, and then she just puts together, and I guess it's a talent to write a slick little commentary that just synthesizes all of the mainstream. What's that? What?
Just all the headlines. She's basically a Huffington Post for sports.
Right.
Gilds the lily a little.
Exactly. But because she can do it in a mellifluous fashion, and she has nice transitions, and she uses words, and then she writes about topics that are familiar to people so they can breeze through it, she's perceived as being this wonderful writer, although she's never had an original thought in at least the last 20, 25 years that I've been following her. But that gets her into the Hall of Fame. Meanwhile, us with our original, insightful, unique takes, we have 100 viewers, and that's so maybe she's.
We're breaking stories that she's sleeping and having lemon cookies, and we're breaking stories.
Right. So I don't begrudge her.
We're having lemon cookies. You can't sleep and have lemon cookies. Sleeping or having lemon cookies.
So I begrudge her nothing. However, I will take issue with the content of one of her most recent acclaimed articles.
These are our polemics.
Yeah, she published in the LA Times, and the basic point of the article was, well, not the point, but the question that she's asking. So, right, this isn't an original thought. She's synthesizing this, and the way she phrases it is, how many more positive tests, COVID positive tests, before Major League Baseball shuts down, right? From the perspective, the safe, easy perspective that the league should be shut down, that it's dangerous. And you read through her article, which isn't even that long. It takes you 3 minutes to read through it. Like, this is all the attention span that people have these days. And
well, don't blame the people. I mean, let's stick with the writer.
Right. And so her question is, she says that this isn't even, it isn't smart to pose the travel the way it is and to allow the players in the ballpark. She says it isn't smart. And that's what I take issue with, because that's not a legitimate argument. No one has claimed that the way Major League Baseball is doing it is smart. I don't think anybody has said this is a smart approach, but she phrases that question that way, that it isn't a smart way of doing it. Thank you, Helene. You've given us brilliance while you've taken the soft, easy perspective of that. I'm on the side that you're risking player health.
Right. I mean, this is not an equal parallel, and you might admonish me for it later, but I mean, like, some things are worth doing that are not necessarily smart. Like, for example, in 1967, putting a couple of guys on a jet fueled bomb and pretending that was going to send them to the moon. Light that candle. I mean, come on. I mean, that was not smart, but it was worth doing. This is not smart, but it's worth doing. And maybe you'll get into that a little. As
far as we know, nobody has died yet. But, sometimes risking your life is worth the national security issues and the national motivation. But the point I want to make to Helene Elliott is the issue is not how many more people have to test positive before Major League Baseball suspends the season. The question, Helene, really is how many more uninspired, easy to frame, hack, uninsightful, mundane, unhelpful, trite little snarky pieces like this thing you published do you have to write before you are suspended from the Hall of Fame? That's the question.
Close the polemics bag. That was Michael Driggs with polemics. That was powerful. I only have one question. Just hang tight, but maybe you have an answer to this. Is it Helene or Helene?
I know it's Elliott, Miss Elliott.
All right. That was a little inside joke from, I think, show number 4. Henry told me that when we were talking about names in show number 4. Well, that was fun, the polemics. I like the polemics.
Well, I think the point is that we're going to hold these Hall of Fame sports writers to task.
Can we reopen the polemics bag and let me do some polemics?
Do you have one? You ready to go?
I'm going to steal one from you. I want to know why these games are all postponed for COVID. I want to know why they're all PFC'd when all these other teams have alternate sites with 30-man rosters ready to fill up the main rosters, and they also have a 3-man taxi squad. I mean,
expanded. The whole plan that Major League Baseball was set to pursue was based upon the fact that if somebody tested positive, this is what we were led to believe, that those players would be removed and replacements based on the expanded rosters would be put in. Now, the Miami Marlins are a separate, unique situation. The whole team tested positive and blew up for COVID. We get it. We understand. But the Phillies stopped playing games because staff, not even players, were tested at the positive at the venue. I mean, they could have gone to Buffalo and played those games, right?
Toronto would
have left them. And now we see today in the Brewers St. Louis game that a couple of St. Louis players tested positive, so they postponed those games. So 6 teams are COVID.
Yeah, so you wonder, like, why do they have those 30-man rosters if they're not ready to immediately fill up the guys that are in protocol, symptoms, have it or don't have it? And you had a good point about maybe perhaps, and I'll just, unless you want to say it.
I don't recall my point from the meeting.
You don't recall the point?
No.
Well, you had a really good point because you said, well, maybe they should start an automatic runner on second.
Yeah.
All double headers.
Right. Yeah. The whole point was so we can adjust, we can be nimble. We understand that this is just a tournament. So we're concerned about all these games that these players are going to play. So we've already agreed to 7-inning double headers. And my God, you got 6 teams postponed now. This is 3 games today into the weekend. Multiply that by 18. We're looking at a minimum. I did the quick calculations to stay on schedule. We're already looking at least 8 double headers. And that's fine. So you want to reduce the innings down to 7, but there's going to be more double headers than that because there's going to be some more issues very soon.
Unless they start using the farm teams or the alternate site teams.
Well, they don't appear to be moving in that direction. And so instead of a second game, why shouldn't the second game just start as if it were the extra innings to the first game and just start with a guy on second?
Yeah.
First team to win.
I think that's a great idea, but I also found it funny. That's why I wanted to reopen the polemics bag.
We can bet on that. That'd be easy enough to handicap. And it sure would help the Dazzy Vance Base Runner Award because we'd have a lot more people getting to assume that opportunity. But
do we have time to talk about
before
recipes?
Before we do,
okay.
I want to say that if this commissioner, who has now just within the last hour and a half released a report that he is threatening to shut down the entire season if teams don't do a better job of controlling COVID, like that's in their wheelhouse. But he just has to make the threat. But we'll get back to that in the point. No, I like the idea of each team individually being plucked off. And soon we're
Yeah.
going to be back to like summer camp when there's only one team left just playing intra-squad games.
Yeah, it's funny, man. But so is it Manfred or Manfred?
It's been for
Okay, yeah, that's a ridiculous thing that he said, but we don't even to analyze it. But they did report, uh, and they're so furtive and slick, this MLB and Manfred. Uh, 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 they had 29 COVIDs out of the 11,000 plus they tested the players and staff, and 21 of the 29 were from one team, but they refused to name the team. Thank you, Florida. Like, nobody knows it's the Marlins. 21 from one team. Come on, come on, Manfred. Get it together, man. Before the weather. Let's go.
Exactly. But,
So I had to get. I had a lot on my mind with all the stuff that's going on because I love the tournament and I'm getting into it. And Santander had a nice game so far for the Orioles. I don't even want to look at the score because I want to give everything I have to our fans, and I'm focusing on the show. But I want to talk a little bit about a little thing I put together. I did it without recipes. I made sort of a hybrid of goulash and Irish stew, and I had the G2 beef, the grass-fed, grass-finished beef, which the hardest part about that is getting a really good butcher's knife and making sure you get the silver skin off of the piece of meat. The fat, you want to keep some of that, but the silver skin, even if you did it 14 hours in the crock pot, that's never going to break down.
Right.
And that's that tight little stuff that kind of just sticks right to the meat. So
they don't have a butcher who could do that for you?
No, I have I use.
What, you got cows in the back? Are you slaughtering your own animals? What's going? Well, how do you get silver thing?
I use butcher box for when you sometimes need meat and sometimes need a butcher. It's all hormone free. The meat comes cubed but not removed from the silver skin. It's no antibiotics. It's all grass fed, grass finished. I'm talking about the meat, not the butcher. But anyway, I used the butcher box, and it turns out great. So that took a little time to do that, and then I put a lot of black pepper and salt on that, and then roll it in the flour. And then what I do is I get the skillet, not a dish. I get the cast iron skillet, and I like to get that pretty high, somewhere close to high, but around, between medium and high, but closer to high. And one of the things I do is I brown that floured meat in coconut oil. That's a little trick because butter and regular olive oil don't have as high a flash point. And then, get all that, you put that stuff in a dish because you just brown it. It's still raw inside. And then I get the onion in. With goulash, you got to use a lot of onion. And I kind of just melt that onion a little, kind of brown it a little in that oil and grease that I use. And this is where it gets goulashy. I put the paprika right on the onion. This is where it gets a little stew-like. I get a little of the red pepper on the onion, more black pepper, and that stuff gets nice and melted. And I add the tomatoes. Now we're in the stew side. I did carrots. Now that we're in the stew side, I put the meat in there, and I deglaze the pan at the very end where the onions are. Usually I would use wine, didn't have wine today, didn't want to leave the house. So here's a nice trick, red wine vinegar, never used a balsamic. And I got to tell you,
after you pour a little in, do you take a swig of the vinegar?
I like taking a swig of the vinegar, but I feel a little bilious afterwards. But it's good. And then you just slow cook that, and it fills the house with a nice smell. And you got to get the when you're slow cooking it, you got to get the bay leaf. The bay leaf is the umami of leaves, and that's a leaf that you put in to really enhance the savoriness, and that's what a bay leaf. But never eat a bay leaf because that's kind of like eating a cooked chicken bone, and you could die. And so that stuff's all cooking nice, and you got a little bit of your Irish stew mixed with, and no recipe. So this is just theories. And you slow cook it, and it smells nice, and it came out amazing. And that butcher box meat was as tender as any meat, and as tasty and healthy because it's grass fed, grass finished. But I call it before it's done, I do throw in a little pat of the grass fed Irish butter. into the right into the stew that's turning into a gravy.
Monte-Albert,
Yeah, just to give it a little nice richness, and of course I use grass-fed butter with no salt. It's the Kerrygold in the silver. Kerrygold, you've never been so close to the Emerald Isle, yet we have to be so far, far and away. Okay, that's a terrible Irish accent, but much better than Tom Cruise, and it was delicious. The only thing that wasn't healthy about it is I'm not going to not have a nice piece of crusty own Italian bread to dunk into the gravy.
You gotta sop it. But
I do call it, I think I have a name for it. I like to call it goulashes, because it's goulash with stew, so you get the S, but not to be confused with galoshes, which are rain boots.
That's
not all I have on the recipe.
Not because you stick your feet into the pot. Yeah.
That's the recipe. It's a good recipe, and remind our viewers that if they send in an email for our email, they will not only get free picks, but upon request they'll get recipes.
Yeah, and my butcher box is 22 days away from the next delivery. 22 days, and now I'm thinking about the threat Manfred makes today about if the teams don't control COVID better, then he may shut down the league, and it makes me wonder what's going to come first. My butcher box or the end of the Major League Baseball season?
Manfred. He's making me a little nervous with these little, they're almost like outbursts. They're not even really well thought out.
They are outbursts.
But he's much more, I would say, intelligent and forward thinking than Healing.
Yeah, but the Marlins, meanwhile, are scrambling to find replacements in order to have enough players to fill their squad on their Monday game. So I dug a little deep into that, and they've got...
Wait, let me stop you. So the 21 of the 29 players from one team that have the COVID, are we sure that was the Marlins?
Yeah.
Come on, I'm just kidding, man.
Yeah, so they've got some replacements, and it's so funny. They've now signed 7 or 8 new guys, non-roster invitees, 30, and they're all 30-plus-year-old guys who are going to come in and play for them. I think they're turning into the bad news Bears, man.
30-plus-year-old guys with high risk instead of taking the guys that have been training all spring training PC post-COVID at their alternate sites. I don't understand. They got the alternate sites. These kids are ready to go. Give them a shot.
No, they signed these 30.
They're going to burn through the COVID faster than these 30-year-old guys that are sitting around just drinking beer.
Do you know? Have you looked ahead in the schedule? Who is slated to play Miami on Monday? Who's coming to town to play?
I can't. I didn't look.
Philadelphia, the team that's taking extra precautions, right? They don't have anybody who's COVID positive. They just aren't opening up the ballpark in Philadelphia. And so,
everybody's taking extra precautions on this. I mean, Chris Davis took some time off, and he was like Batman. He wouldn't tell. Nobody could say anything. And so right away you think he's got COVID, and it turned out he had the sniffles.
Right.
He had no fever, and turns out a guy that is 6'3.5", 240 pounds of pure muscle, and 1 year hit almost 60 home runs, routinely gets the sniffles. Kind of strange for such a big hulk of a guy that I like to call the big boy.
And also may have some allergies. But
while we're on the Orioles, I'll just throw this in 1, 2, 3. It seems that Cole Stewart, who was a good pickup for Minnesota, the 25-year-old pitcher that looked like he was really going to stick with the Orioles, decided to put up his spikes. He just surprised everyone and said, "Nah, I don't want to do it." And I understand why. I mean, he says because he's type 1 diabetic and he's high risk, which is fine. But he went this far, and I think it's because he knew that the extra $600 in the unemployment benefits were going to expire, so he wanted to get a couple of extra checks. I can't blame him.
Yeah, it's tough. But you know what else is tough? I ordered a new pair of tennis shoes. In early July, and I'm so excited because with the shutdown of the entire country. Shoes were not shipping, and I'm not a tennis shoe guy, but I'm a boot guy. But I got these tennis shoes. I need them. I walk around. I need tennis shoes, and I bought these tennis shoes, and they came, and they were just the wrong size because you get to try them on. Each particular brand is going to have a different.
What size are you anyway? You're like a 10 wide.
I'm from a 9 to 10, depends. Wide. It just
Me
depends.
too. I'm exactly. I'm pretty much like a 9.5 to a 10. I could sometimes do a 9.5, but mostly I like to do a 10. But that's weird that we vary.
Right.
Maybe
so I have to send them back, and then I have the new proper fitting based on the wrong fitting. So I'm excited for these tennis shoes to come. And a few days ago, well, a week ago, I get an email saying that the shoes have shipped, that they've shipped from New Brunswick, Georgia. Did you know there was a New Brunswick, Georgia?
No, I knew there was a New Brunswick, New Jersey.
Yeah, but New Brunswick, so that confuses me. And obviously FedEx doesn't know that there's a New Brunswick, Jersey either, because Georgia, yeah, because my shoes still haven't come. So I went online back to the email that had the tracker, and I track it, seeing where are these shoes, and it says they're not coming till August 11th. What are these shoes doing? Walking here?
That's a good one. That's funny.
Come on, I told that perfectly. I said it.
I mean, to have me interrupting you and asking your shoe size, and you were able
just to get to that punchline. Come on.
You were still able to do it with perfect timing. But you're a true pro. Two things though about that story. I'm not comfortable with the word tennis shoes. That's
what word would you use?
I don't know. They're sneakers, I think, aren't they?
Sneakers? What is this? 1960? The running shoes. You want me to call them running shoes?
Yeah, running shoes. The running shoes. You got to say running shoes because that's a special type of tennis shoe. A tennis shoe is a general sneaker, but a running shoe is a running shoe.
It's a sneaker that is in the running shoe classification. Meanwhile, your Orioles are.
When you get them, I want to see them because I don't know exactly what item it is. I don't know if I've ever even seen you wear a sneaker or a tennis shoe.
No,
you're always in a boot or a dress shoe or in a blazer. You're always very, very well dressed. But
fascinating games going on here. You got the Padres that tied it up in the 9th. The Orioles are holding on into
a 1-run.
The 8th, 5-3, and the Angels making a game of it in LA. They really need the win to save their season. They're down.
Yeah. The Angels. Here's a bad break about the Angels in some ways because their starting pitching has been very, very good. Cotton Candy Haney's been good. Bundy, even with the L, had 8 strikeouts. Caning's been good. And the cat Sandoval, who got sent down to the farm, even though there's no minor league teams, but is somewhere out to pasture on a farm, literally, I guess was the word on that. But that not to be confused with Arturo Sandoval, who was a great jazz musician from Cuba, or Hope Sandoval from Mazzy Star. But this Sandoval did well. And of all teams that would benefit from double headers so they don't have to deal with their shitty bullpen, it's the team with perfect weather playing other teams either with domes or perfect weather. That's a drag because if you have these type of starters short of Ohtani and these guys are doing this well and you're playing a multiple 7-inning game, you're going to be looking great.
Right.
But you're not going to get any double headers.
I know.
They're healthy, and there's going to be no rainouts.
But boy, do they miss Trout. They need him back, but I think the whole league misses Trout. Meanwhile, San Francisco has 9 runs today. San Francisco is crushing it, 9-2. Who's the most disappointing team to start Major League Baseball so far? Is it Texas or is it the Angels? The Halos or the Rangers?
That's a tough one, man. I think maybe the Halos, man, because there was just so much, so
Right,
much.
right.
I didn't know that their bullpen was this horrible, and I
So,
didn't know they were going to be so spotty on hitting.
right. Well, we've gotten a lot of responses about our theme song. We've gotten a lot.
Really?
Yeah, people love it. There's been a request for some other theme songs from some people. The request that stands out to me the most is we need to do a song called "These Tigers." So Marco, if we can put it to you to write some lyrics.
These Tigers.
Yeah.
They're
5-2. They're crushing it. We can get on.
All right. So you want to do the theme song for the Dog Tigers, but I got to come up with a different thing.
These Tigers. But the request was twofold. It was also, and please, with any other song, just not another Jackson Browne song.
Oh, okay.
That was the request.
Right. So it doesn't. I could do any parody song for the Detroit Tigers, but it doesn't have to be these Tigers because these Jays these days. That's the whole pun. So all right, I'll come up with a song for sure for the Tigers.
Nancy, if you're watching, will you do another one for us?
We hope we can get Nancy in. We're still waiting. There was some talk back and forth if a performance right organization or a PRO, your ASCAPs or your BMIs, were going to get on us about doing a parody of these days. But we got that really, really approved lickety split through standards and practices. But then I started doing some research, and I found out that Henry's not only the showrunner, but he also runs standard and practices. So that's, I think, why we got it so fast, so fast. But we're both lawyers, and I think we know that since, we're a nonprofit. And I know that sounds weird that gambling and website is not out to make a buck. And I know that it was a sticking point in the meeting. How the heck can you guys file for a 501c3?
Yeah.
But Michael, cleverly, as the lawyer that he is, came up with the loophole that said we lean on the fact that part of our business model is that we put together the best losses.
It is. We lose like men in the trenches. We put up
in the trenches. So yeah. So I'll definitely do a song about the Detroit Tigers, and it'll have nothing to do with these Tigers or Jackson Browne. It's probably going to have to do something with Bob Seger, though, right?
It may have to be.
Hey, Dave Moore, we forgot the Motor City. How come you didn't come bust my ass about the Motor City, Dave Moore from Greensboro, North Carolina, the Gate City?
He will. He will. Meanwhile, tomorrow we got 3 games postponed. We got the Philadelphia-Toronto doubleheader postponed. That's fascinating. A doubleheader postponed. So you're
not going to reopen the polemics bag, are you?
No. The doubleheader postponed. Does that mean they have to play a quadruple header next time? No, a triple header.
I think you're onto something about first game is 7 innings, and then the second game starts with a runner on second.
Yeah.
Automatic runner.
Just do it.
It just has to be done.
Yeah.
We got to keep this going. It's too much fun. These guys are playing their butts off.
They're playing their hearts out.
Are the Orioles still hanging on?
They took it to the bottom of the 8th. They're up a run, and they're at home with a 2-run lead. So
all right.
They don't blow another finish.
Cobb looked good. He wasn't as good as the last time out, but he looked pretty good. He confused them enough to get 4 innings in, but he threw too many pitches for 4 innings pitched. But this guy Sandoval. Not Sandoval, Jesus. Santander. Yeah. Now I'm going Sandoval, Santander. Yeah, he was clutch today.
So it's
a singer and a clutch.
But interesting enough, the St. Louis-Milwaukee game for tomorrow has not yet been postponed. So even though it was today, they're slated to play tomorrow. So we're looking at almost a full slate. The games start at 10 a.m. and then there's a break. So it's one morning game, Cincinnati and our new team, Detroit. Our new team, these Tigers. are
These Tigers.
the early game, and Bauer's going to get the start for Cincinnati. He was pushed back because Castillo went today, and so that's the early game we're looking at. And then we get into a slew of 4 o'clock Pacific starts with game twos of all of these current series and the late night games coming from the West Coast in
let me
Seattle and San
let me
Francisco.
remind people that please get on the email list so you can get Michael and I's, mostly Michael, plays, and they're free if you get on this email list.
Yeah.
Picks, the number 4 sticks, STICKS, and I know I've calmed down and I'm being very serious, but we want to keep this going. The people that are watching seem to think it's fun. We like doing it, but if we don't start getting some emails and people showing some more interest, we may just be only going on for another month or so.
You sound like Manfred now.
I'm pulling them in Fred, man.
Yeah.
I didn't want to take the shine off, so I said another month or so. Good luck with that. I'm hopeful that we can get into Monday.
So let's get a couple winners to end the night. We go 1 and 2 on our plays we pushed out, which means we got some work to do on the back end tomorrow to get people some winners. And I think tomorrow what I'll do is I'll send out the free play, plus I'll send out all my personal plays.
All right.
So
cool. I think we're pretty good. I mean, so we're 12% through the season. We covered a lot today. We didn't break any stories, but we got we're in the action, and the action has been good. It's only going to get better as far as coming from you and your genius. Yeah. And I think we should call it a show and say goodnight.
Sounds perfect to me. Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you tomorrow evening. Any chance you want to do a day show tomorrow? No.
All right. Good night, Michael.
Good night.